Hello everyone! So Tony, are you sitting here thinking about how to become famous? I have an idea. What do you know about the Darwin Awards? You haven't heard of them, Tony? It's a website that hands out awards. Every year one person wins, and this time it could be you, Tony. Only there is one condition. The prize is awarded posthumously to the person who had the most absurd and ridiculous death. Now let me tell you about a few of the most outstanding nominees and winners. Let's start. Let's go back to Michigan back in the year 2000. An avid hunter loved his hobby so much that he decided to get his dog involved. So, he wanted to take a picture of his beloved pet with a gun. It was supposed to be a great photo, but the careless movement of the dog caused the loaded rifle to fall and shoot the hapless photographer. It was the first recorded case of a man being shot by a dog, but the hunter won the Darwin Award. In 1998, a professional skydiver decided to jump with a parachute from a height of 3,000 meters. As usual, he decided to record his flight. He was ready, so he took his camera and jumped from the plane. But a few seconds later, he noticed he didn't have a parachute. You can probably guess how this story ended. So silly, right? But this is just the start. The next inane deaths will surprise you even more. Once upon a time, a person from France decided to say goodbye to this world. But he was very afraid of failing. So, he decided to end his life in 5 different ways at once. He climbed a cliff over the sea. He wrapped a rope around his neck. He drank some poison. He set his clothes on fire, and he shot himself. But what happened next was extraordinary and almost unreal. He missed and the bullet broke the rope. The man ended up falling from the cliff and the water put out the fire. On top of that, he felt sick after the fall and vomited the poison before it managed to act. He was saved by a fisherman who took him to the hospital. There, the poor man finally died from hypothermia and became a Darwin Award nominee. The following story will amaze you just as much. Megan Fry was an ordinary 44-year-old woman. The only thing that set her apart from the others was that she loved jokes and pranks. One day, she happened to wander onto a live firing, fake town simulation. She saw a group of troopers and suddenly jumped out in front of them and yelled, "Boo!" The troopers, thinking it was a pop-up target, fired 67 shots at her, and more than 40 hit the target. Naturally, this was her last prank before winning her Darwin Award. Moving on, the state of New South Wales in Australia banned the sale of plastic bags in stores, so shoppers have to bring their own bags. In the summer of 2018, an elderly woman in the town of Castle Hill forgot whether she had some bags in her trunk. She pulled over quickly and ran out of the car to check. Unfortunately, she forgot to pull the handbrake on her Mazda CX-7. 1,800 pounds of Japanese metal rolled down and swept the owner away. This ridiculous death was deservedly nominated for a Darwin Award. Gary Hoy was a lawyer from Canada. He became famous because of a tragic accident on July 9, 1993. He was giving a tour of a high-rise business center that had many floor-to-ceiling glass windows. Some guests often voiced concerns that such windows were not safe enough, but Gary always proved them wrong. This day, as always, he ran up and jumped right at the window. The glass was very strong indeed and didn't break, but this time the frame gave way. The poor lawyer flew along with the window. The next unusual death occurred in 2013. A 45-year-old man from Brazil was sleeping peacefully in his bed and had no idea that a cow had climbed onto his roof. The slate roof naturally broke under the weight of the rather large animal. The cow fell through and collapsed right on top of this poor man, who almost immediately died of internal hemorrhage. And the next case is one of our favorites. We probably shouldn't say that about someone's death, but you'll find out what we mean. Peter Gruber, a resident of Germany, sneaked into an art museum to take something valuable out. But he was spotted by the guards, who started to chase him. The thief ran around the corner, straight into a sculpture holding a sword. He died almost instantly. But the most remarkable and ironic part in this story is that the exhibit was called the Weapon of Justice. By the way, this is not the only case where karma catches up with a criminal. In 2011, a California resident was stabbed to death by a bird. This person supplied birds for illegal cockfights. On the last day of his life, He brought a bird with very sharp spurs attached to its legs to fight. It must be said that the roosters were treated very badly on purpose so that they would be angry and the fights would be spectacular. But at one point, the bird simply attacked its owner, stabbing him several times and killing him in the end. It must have been revenge for all of its feathered fellows hurt by the fights. A zookeeper in Germany tried to cure an elephant of terrible constipation. At first, he gave it 22 doses of animal laxative, but that didn't work. Then gave the elephant a good portion of berries, figs, and prunes, but again there were no results. After that, the frustrated caretaker decided to give the elephant an enema with olive oil. And then, suddenly, 90 kilograms of excrement came out of the elephant right onto the poor man who was just trying to save the animal. The force of the elephant's sudden defecation knocked the caretaker to the ground. He hit a rock with his head and lost consciousness, while the elephant continued to empty his bowels. The poor man died of asphyxiation and won the 1998 Darwin Award. Now, let's go to Malaysia. On January 28, 2018, local resident Zaim Kosnan saw a 3.5-meter-long python on the side of the road. Without giving it much thought, he decided to capture the reptile and sell it. He armed himself with gloves and a sickle and skillfully grabbed the python, lifted it over his head, got on his scooter, and went on his way. Only soon the hunter became the prey. The unhappy python wrapped itself around the rider's body and, as a result, Zaim suffocated and fell into a ditch. Naturally, that ridiculous death was nominated for a Darwin Award. This death from 1997 won that year's award for obvious reasons. Eric Barcia, a 22-year-old U.S. citizen who lived in Reston, Virginia, received an overwhelming majority of votes. Eric worked at a local fast food restaurant, but since he was a kid, he had dreamed of doing something epic. Only there was never the right opportunity. So, he had the great idea of celebrating his birthday by jumping off a railroad trestle. He found an elastic cord to hold him in the air after jumping off the bridge. To keep himself safe from accidents, he measured the length of the cord twice. It had to be shorter than the distance between the trestle and the ground. After tying himself to the very top of the bridge, Eric bravely jumped headlong and died a few seconds later. The police found out that he had not measured the height of the trestle in advance, but instead he determined it by eye and added 5 extra meters. On December 18th, a man's corpse landed at the feet of some subway workers in Washington, D.C. Sherlock Holmes wasn't around to solve the mystery of his death, so they turned to the video surveillance system. It turned out that the man had decided to run up a rather long escalator moving down. At the very top, he began to feel sick and ran out of breath, so he tumbled and fell down. A well-deserved candidate for the Darwin Award. And here's another one. In New York City, a biker refused to wear a helmet, protesting against the law requiring motorcyclists to wear one. What do you think happened? Of course, he had an accident, cracked his head, and died. The police concluded that the biker would have survived if he had been wearing a helmet. So friends, always think about safety if you don't want to receive a Darwin Award like this poor guy. Finally, let's go to Finland. This country is so fond of sauna that they even hold competitions on how long you can last in one. During the competition, the temperature in the steam room can go up to 140 degrees. So, in 2010, Russian sauna lover Vladimir Ladozhensky reached the finals. Neither Vladimir nor his main rival, last year's champion, were going to give up. As a result, the competition had to be stopped and the finalists were taken to the hospital with severe burns. Unfortunately, Vladimir died in the hospital. Friends, tell us in the comments what other Darwin Award nominees you know, and please don't do anything stupid while we're gone. Give us a big fat like and we'll be back with another interesting video in exactly 1 week. Bye-bye!